Again, good afternoon and welcome in. I'm Andrea Rutledge, President and CEO of CMAA. I'd like to welcome you to the annual meeting of the membership. This is the first time we've done it virtually. We'll give those who are participating today a few more minutes to join, and then we'll get started. So hello again. I'm Andrea Rutledge, President and CEO. For the first time, we are hosting the CMAA annual meeting of the membership as a virtual event. Our objective in doing so is to make the information available to more people, both now and later through the recording. So thank you for joining us. We have a lot to cover. And before I begin, and before I hand everything over to the chair of the CMAA Board of Directors, Christine Oates, CCM, I'd like to thank Carly Trout, CMAA Senior Manager of Professional Development, for moderating and facilitating the platform today. And Carly, I'd like to ask you if you could give everyone the instructions for submitting questions to the group.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrea. Just a few housekeeping notes. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A window in your Zoom control panel. Please feel free to enter your questions at any point. However, we will defer Q&A towards the end of the presentation. Also, I just wanted to mention, if you're looking to receive continuing education credit, all attendees can access their credit and a certificate of completion directly in their CMAA Learning Center within 24 hours. And now I will turn things back over to you all.
Great. Right, thank you. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, and welcome everyone. CMA 2023 will begin in just a few days at National Harbor near Washington, D.C. Usually, the annual meeting of the membership is part of the Sunday general session. This year, we wanted to share reports with as many people as possible, including those who may not be traveling to this year's conference. Joining me today are Khaled Naja, Michael Houston, Brian McCarthy, and Andrea Rutledge. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the annual meeting of the membership is now convened. As your leaders, one of our core responsibilities is to be good stewards of the resources our members provide to CMAA. Let's start with Michael Houston and CMA's financial performance for fiscal year 2022.
Thanks, Christine. For fiscal year 2022, the board approved a balanced budget that included support for the Leadership Summit and the CACM Credential, which launched in January. The annual audit was concluded at mid-year. The audited results show that as of December 31st, 2022, total revenue for the year was $5.65 million, and expenses were $5.12 million. For FY23, the board approved another balanced budget with revenue at $5.96 million and expenses at $5.95 million. And as of August 31st, 2023, we are forecasting total revenue at $5.93 million and expenses at $5.84 million. The expectations for another successful financial year. CMAA maintains both an operating reserve and a long-term reserve to respond to any significant developments and opportunities. Back in 2018, using a process based on assessing risk and opportunities, the board set a reserve target of $2.5 million, and that goal was to be reached by the target by 2022. Between good financial management and a healthy market, we reached that goal early. And even with all the turmoil over the last 3 years, as of December 31st, 2022, the total reserves, a combination of both cash and investments, were at $2.9 million. In 2023, the CMA Board of Directors voted to use its reserves strategically and to spend some of that money to support the Leadership Summit, a new by invitation only event for volunteer leaders across the organization. More about that later. This year, CMAA refreshed its risk-based reserve study to set a new target. This meant taking a hard look at all we had learned during the pandemic and all the new initiatives we wanted to bring forward. The Board of Directors will vote to set a new reserve target later this month. Now, I'll give it back to Christine and Khaled to share more about CMA's activities in 2023. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. CMA has more than 20,000 members, including individuals, professional service companies, and owners in the public and private sectors, as well as academic and associated members. CMAA has 29 regional chapters across the country. CMAA added 4 new mega members in 2022 and 2023, including RKNK, Answer Advisory, the New York School Construction Authority, and the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Over 14,000 people hold a credential offered by CMCI. That includes over 6,000 people who have earned the Certified Construction Manager credential, another 8,000 plus CMITs, of which 500 are pursuing the stackable credential, and a growing group of CACMs. A key element of CMAA's revenue is dues. In 2022, the Board of Directors approved a new dues and membership structure, which has gone into effect with 2024 renewals. This new structure, which was designed to both address and resolve several challenges with the previous structure, is also revenue neutral to CMAA. Central to the new structure are explicit definitions of CM revenues, a simplified structure for owner members, fewer categories, and new benefits for those choosing the mega category. Invoices for 2024 renewals are going out next week, so please feel free to reach out to the staff with any questions.
Thank you, Khaled. The professional development team has been on fire. In the last 11 months, they have launched the Certified Associate Construction Management Credential, the CACM, launched CMCI Safety and Ethics Renewal Requirement, launched a revision to the online PCM course, launched CCM Build-Up, the new test prep program, with 4 cohorts having completed the program, launched season 2 of the Construction Leaders Podcast, released new technology management guidelines, released new professional practice guidelines, released the 2023 Prologue White Paper, a must-read on recruiting and retaining talent, recruited and starting the 2nd cohort for the Emerging Leaders Program, administered 20 PCM courses, both virtual and in person, sold 3 PCM course licenses, selected 53 sessions for CMA 2023, released the CACM practice exam, revised the risk management guidelines, released a new CMPM fee study, presented the new construction management principles course for attendees at the National Association of Women in Construction annual conference, presented 4 Train the Trainer courses. Okay, now I could take a breath. That was a lot. And they are already planning for next year.
Thanks, Christine. And one of this year's initiatives that I'm personally excited about is that CMAA's advocacy initiative is on its feet, literally. The CMAA Government Advocacy Committee, led by Ed Pogriba of Procon Consulting, is taking advantage of the proximity of this year's annual conference to the U.S. House and Senate office buildings and has planned CMAA's first ever Hill Day. On November 1st, a small group of CMAA members, including committee members, chapter leaders, and CMAA fellows, will spend a day visiting their elected representatives. Their objectives are to demonstrate that CMAA members are their constituents and are a trusted source of knowledge and best practices in program and construction management. Also to present CMAA members as resource to members of Congress and their staff for understanding the value PMCM professionals provide as stewards of the project and program lifecycle. And last but not least, to promote the importance of credentials to professionals and to ask members of Congress to co-sponsor HR 1477 or to thank them for co-sponsoring the bill. This bill will make it possible to use 529 accounts to pay for professional credentials.
Central to the CMAA work going forward is the board's commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, DEIB. This is important not only in the context of building successful businesses and teams, but also in terms of recruiting and retaining talent our profession needs now and in the future. Part of that commitment was reflected in CMAA's decision to sign the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion in 2021. This is an initiative to rally the business community to advance diversity and inclusion within the workplace, and also our commitment to AGC's culture of care. In late 2022, the CMAA Board of Directors embarked on a two-part learning experience designed to advance their knowledge of the value of DEIB in workplaces, to explore and identify explicit and implicit bias, to learn more about identifying various forms of microaggression, like microinvalidation, microassaults, and microinequities, and to practice the techniques for calling out and calling in. Next, the board identified those areas where CMAA was uniquely qualified to address and promote DEIB through products and services, programs, publications, and protocols. The resulting work plan summarizes the activities or initiatives most likely to contribute to success and to deliver on the aspirations of the strategic outcome to shape the profession over the next 12 to 24 months. This plan supplements the fiscal 23 business plan, and in fiscal 24 will be fully incorporated into CMAA's business planning. We are constantly balancing our approach by acknowledging that certain things lie within our circle of control, while others are within our circle of influence. The association's objectives are to provide members with the tools and skills necessary to lead and implement DEIB initiatives within their workplaces, always with a focus on two things: promoting, developing, and educating professionals to build and sustain teams and work cultures that are diverse, welcoming, and inclusive, and being the trusted source of knowledge and best practices. If you have questions, please reach out to me or to Carol Holland, who chairs the Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the 2023 Leadership Summit. Volunteers are crucial to achieving CMA's mission. Late last year, the Board of Directors agreed that CMAA needed to expand the existing training programs for CMA volunteers by adding an annual Volunteer Leadership Summit to the schedule of association-supported events. In fact, the board was so committed to this initiative that it was funded as a strategic investment from CMA's reserves and will be again in 2024. The summit supports the strategic outcome to promote, develop, and educate professionals to build and sustain teams and work cultures that are diverse, welcoming, and inclusive. The summit's intended outcomes were to develop leaders for the association, strengthen connections between national objectives and chapter activities, build trust and strengthen relationships between volunteers and staff, broadly disseminate information and messages to the chapter network, and develop skills that participants can use to support their growth as leaders within their organizations. All 5 outcomes are equally important to the long-term success and growth of CMAA. CMAA has approximately 250 active volunteers serving in various volunteer groups. In addition to the groups that attended the event in Arizona, others serve in various ad hoc positions like content creator for MCX or subject matter expert in a validation conference for a new publication. In 2020, a CMA staff task group reviewed CMA's volunteer management activities and proposed improvements to the experience for both volunteers and staff. Key among their recommendations was to invest in introductory and ongoing training experiences, particularly for those serving on national boards, committees, and task forces, and for those serving as leaders in CMA's 29 regional chapters. Over the past 3 years, CMAA has made the following investments in volunteer education: onboarding programs for the National Board of Directors, the Board of Governors, and Foundation Board of Directors, orientation meetings for all national committees that address the committee's charges, links to the strategic plan of framework metrics and logistics, But now it was time to go big. The program for the 2023 summit included general sessions on CMA's strategic framework and new research in member engagement, and education sessions that focus on association management topics like DEIB programs, advocacy, succession planning, governance, and financial management, as well as topics suggested by chapter leaders and national committees. The survey results show that the event met its goals, and the staff team is already planning for 2024.
All the work we describe here is guided by CMAA's mission, vision, and strategic framework. The framework sets the direction for the future of the organization. It is a transformational, contemporary expression of the association's historic purposes and looks to a future that is focused on project and program success, the growth and development of people as program and construction management professionals, and positioning CMAA as the voice of the profession.
Within the new framework, core commitments remain. CMAA remains delivery method neutral. CMA believes program and project success is more likely when PMCMs are engaged at the earliest point in the project or program lifecycle. Program and construction management is rooted in a unique body of knowledge, such as scheduling, cost management, and contract administration, and in project management practices. Owner engagement is critical to the continued growth and development of the profession. Collectively, the outcomes and strategies define the association's scope of work for the next 3 to 5 years. Overall, the board and staff see the new framework as an opportunity to take the organization to a new level of commitment, success, and relevance. Now, before I invite Brian McCarthy to give the results of the 2023 election, I want to pause and see whether any questions have come forward.
Thank you, Christine. We do have one question so far that came in from Christopher, and he is wondering if there's a local chapter in Ontario, and if not, is there a plan to open a new chapter in the near future?
So I'll respond to that if I could. And I'm going to assume that we mean Ontario, Canada, not necessarily Ontario, California. And I can say that there are, it's a two-part answer. The first is that we have a steering committee forming a chapter in Michigan. That chapter is more or less centered in the Detroit area. So if Christopher's in the Windsor area, that might be a group that he can be involved with. In addition, in this year and going into fiscal 24, we have a working group, we have a task force this year looking at how we expand internationally. And next year we'll be writing an action plan or work plan to implement the recommendations from the task force, which includes work in Canada.
Great. Thank you.
All right. And we just had a question come in from Jorge, and he's wondering, any plans to advertise more CCMs? I see more companies stressing PMP and job applications rather than CCM.
I'll take that one too, because that there's a lot of work that we do with that. So what we are seeing, it's rather difficult for an association to simply mandate out into the world that they ought, that employers or other organizations ought to do something. Instead, what we do is to promote the value of the credential, particularly to owners, and also to promote the purposes of the credential so that we see more and more both job openings and RFPs for services preferring the CCM.
If I may add to that, the activity on November 1st, we're going to the Hill to discuss with our representatives. We for sure will be talking about the certified construction management credential, as well as the other credentials that we have to stress how CMAA and our profession is truly advancing professional construction management. So I certainly believe that that will go a long way as well in terms of promoting CCMs across the board within our industry.
Okay, great. Well, I don't believe we have any other questions at this time. So back to you.
All right. So under the CMA bylaws, the immediate past chair of CMA's board of director leads the nominating committee. This year, that responsibility fell to Brian McCarthy, who will report the results of this year's elections.
Unmute myself. The online ballot closed on Wednesday, October 25th. I'm happy to report that the CMAA members have elected the following individuals to the CMAA Board of Directors. For an initial 3-year term, Yashar Hushvar, Jason Lawson, and Ron Perkins. For a second 3-year term, Carol Holland, Luis Delgado, Douglas McCutcheon, and Ed Pogriba. The ballot also closed on the election of officers for 2024. They are Chair Khaled Naja, Chair-elect Michael Houston, Treasurer Luis Delgado, Secretary Ed Pogriba, Vice Chairs Carol Holland and Carol Lentz. These are the people who will serve on your board of directors for the coming year. Please join me in thanking them for sharing their time and talent with CMAA. Finally, the ballot for the Foundation Board of Directors also closed on Wednesday. The CMAA members have elected these 2 individuals to a 3-year term on the Foundation Board, Paul Foster and Lisa Sachs. Thank you to everyone who has agreed to serve.
Thank you, Brian. This brings the annual meeting of the membership to a close. Thank you to the 2023 CMA directors for their support in making membership in CMA valuable to you. On behalf of the CMA staff and board of directors, thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing some of you, many of you, in National Harbor this weekend for CMAA 2023.